You can feel it in the room, even when you're being kind, even when you're showing up, even when you're trying to connect. She doesn't fully relax around you. There's tension in her voice, there's distance in her body. It feels like she's always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And the hardest part is you might really be doing better, but she doesn't believe it yet. And that wears on you. It's like no matter how many right moves you make, you're still paying for the old ones. Like the meter never resets. You think, what's the point if she's just going to see me the same way? You've told her you care. You've taken some real steps. You're trying to hold steady when things get heated. You're trying to listen. You're trying to take things less personally. You've made the apology. You've said the right thing. But it still feels like the needle isn't moving. Or it moves and then snaps back. So you start to think, okay, maybe if I just say it better, maybe if I show her how serious I am, maybe if I go above and beyond again. You start walking on eggshells or waiting for her to validate your efforts or hoping this next conversation will finally prove you've changed. Some guys go the other way, pulling back completely, figuring, why bother? She'll never believe me anyway. The result's the same. You end up more disconnected, and the gap between you grows. Here's the problem. The more you perform trustworthiness, the less trustworthy it feels. She doesn't want a performance. Trust grows through what you do, consistently, under pressure, when no one's giving you a gold star. If trust has been cracked, whether from a single breach or 1,000 small disappointments, the work, the way forward, is to live in a way that feels believable, because it is, because it's real. Integrity carries weight when it shows up as part of who you are, when it feels woven into your daily choices, when it no longer comes across as a performance, as an act. Over time, those kinds of moves carry more weight than apologies or promises ever could. They create the sense that maybe this change is real. So, what does that actually look like? Well, it means doing what you said you'd do, even when she's not warm to you. It means responding from values, not from shame, not from people-pleasing, not from resentment, even when she's upset. It means not pointing out all the things you're doing right. Because if it only counts when she sees it, it's still a performance. Let's zoom in on a moment that catches plenty of couples off guard. All right, so let's say a while back, you bought something big without running it by her first. Maybe you told yourself it wasn't a huge deal, but she saw it and it brought up all that old stuff. Secrecy, stress about money, the ache that's been there before. You can feel the air shift every time the credit card bill shows up. Suddenly, you're tiptoeing, hoping she doesn't notice the little things piling up. But you step out of that pattern. Now, you catch yourself before it snowballs. Instead of hoping it slips past, you're up front. You say something like, hey, I was thinking about upgrading the tires before winter hits. Can we look at the budget together? No drama, no angling for gold stars, just handling it, plain and simple. You do this again, and again, and again. Small, steady moves. No speeches, no keeping score. What happens is she stops scanning for gotchas every time the mail comes in. She relaxes, even if she doesn't say it out loud. She just assumes you've already brought her into the loop, because lately, you always have. Rebuilding trust looks like a quiet rhythm of these choices, repeated until they become the new normal. And the impact isn't just financial transparency. It's her nervous system easing, her body no longer braced for the next unpleasant surprise. Over time, that background tension lifts, not because of one talk, but because of dozens of small signals that say, you're safe to count on me here. Here's another one, shared parenting decisions. Last year, you and your wife both decided that your daughter needed a steady bedtime routine. You talked it out and landed on what felt right for everyone. But the truth, more than once, on those nights when you were wiped out, you let it slide. Maybe you skipped a step, maybe you let her stay up late, telling yourself it didn't really matter. Meanwhile, your wife was over there sticking to the plan. She started to feel like she was carrying the load by herself. Now, things look different. You handle bedtime the way you both agreed. Every step, every night, even when you're tired and want to just call it good enough. You don't make a show of it. You don't keep score. You just do it quietly because it's what you said you'd do. And over time, she notices. She sees that she can count on you to hold that line with her, not against her. Real trust grows as consistent follow-through lets her relax and feel you'll be there where it counts. And it doesn't stop at bedtime. Once she sees you carrying this piece, she becomes more open to letting you carry other pieces too. Reliability in one corner of the marriage often spills into others. Okay, so if you're listening to this and thinking, but I want credit for how hard I'm trying, that makes sense. The desire for recognition is human, but if you let it steer your moves, you end up chasing validation instead of building credibility. You're probably doing more internal work than ever. You're tracking your own patterns, you're noticing your reactions, you're staying in the room in moments where you used to check out or blow up, and maybe you're even wondering, if I'm doing so much better, why doesn't she trust it? Here's the thing. You can't rebuild trust while waiting to be rewarded for your effort. Trust rebuilds when you live differently for long enough that she can feel it's real. And that means doing the right thing even when you didn't get a reaction. Showing up in ways that are consistent, relational, and clear, even when it doesn't feel fair. The measure here is credibility, built through consistent follow-through, even when the situation feels unfair. You're not owed trust just because you've improved. You earn it by being trustworthy, repeatedly, predictably, with no strings attached. And here's something else that makes this feel harder than it should. The temptation to argue that you've changed. You tell her, I've been doing better, or I'm not the same as I used to be. On the surface, that sounds reasonable. You're just stating the truth as you see it. And sometimes it's important to alert her that you are really trying, but here's the danger in that. Under the hood, this is also happening. Okay, you're not only making a logical claim, you're speaking from impatience. You want recognition. You want relief from feeling treated unfairly. Whether you realize it or not, the message underneath often comes across as, I know the truth and you're blind to it. Your feelings are wrong. I'm the one being wronged here. That's why the words don't come across as simple logic. They read as emotional pressure. From her side, she might dismiss it or be somewhat open or even notice it a little. But even then, it doesn't carry the same weight as lived experience. I've changed is still a claim, not a felt reality. There's another layer too. Everyone brings scars into their relationships. Some of her reluctance to trust you may have little to do with you personally. That feels unfair, and it is. But if you point that out directly, it risks sounding like dismissal or condescension, as if you're denying her reality. And that lands poorly, especially when things are already strained. And remember, her emotional defenses are there for a reason. They make her feel safe, or at least protected. So when her defenses are already up, telling her to let her guard down is really asking her to give up the very thing that helps her feel secure. Sometimes she may shrug it off. Sometimes she may not react much at all. But often, instead of reassuring her, it adds to the tension. Here's the subtle danger. A request for her to drop her guard can register in her body as proof that you don't fully understand her need for safety. She hears, trust me, but what she feels is, he wants me to let go of the protection I depend on. Now, this doesn't mean you tiptoe or stay silent forever. Assertiveness matters. Sometimes you do need to name what you see. Like, I get that some of your hesitation is about my past, and maybe Some of it is about what you've been through before. The difference is whether you're saying it to defend yourself or to make space for both of your realities to matter. When you come from patience instead of urgency, your words have a much better chance of being received. And here's a useful way to think about it. Words create a small crack in the wall. Lived behavior is what slowly widens that crack into an opening. The less you argue, the more she can test your actions against her own nervous system and come to her own conclusions. So the real pivot is this. Stop trying to argue her into a new perception and focus on becoming the kind of man her nervous system can feel safe with. Show her over time that you won't minimize or erase her experience, even if you don't agree with every piece of it. Words alone won't move the needle. The whole way you carry yourself does. If you're serious about rebuilding trust, this is the path. Repair comes through repetition, small actions aligned with your values, especially under pressure. Words in a hot moment can't carry that load. Credibility grows through consistency. Small actions lined up with your values, especially when things are tense or quiet. You don't have to nail it every time. You just have to keep going. Over time, those quiet actions start to matter more than any apology or promise ever could.